you. Now, I know what many of y'all are thinking. Vadim, I'm gonna blow you up with a grenade. And I'm sure many of you will. Like, dude, that's what this guy's pretty much saying. Oh my
Кто-то
God.
с гражданки пришел. Надо было сидеть дома. Сидеть дома. Вы не все пришли добровольно. Никто вас не заставлял куда-то идти. Сидели в машине, блядь, успевали на зоне, наверное, уже, блядь, выходной начинали.
They give them beer in the prison? Dude, they're like, hey man, you know what's worse than being in prison? Cracking a cold one with the boys. Getting a punishment in ass, man. Like, dude, that's not a punishment.
I mean, it sounds like they should have stayed in the prison based on the way it sounds.
Dude, this guy's like, y'all could have not been here getting threatened to be shot by me. You could have been back in prison, drinking a beer, enjoying a nice hot meal, having a good shower, you know, just enjoying things. But instead, you're here and I'm threatening to kill you for no reason. It's like, dude, why? Like, I would be like, excuse me, sir, I want to go back to prison. Like, I want to get back on the truck and I want to go back to prison, please. Like, it's that time.
Я так, к примеру, вам говорю. Так что, все это, блядь, все, что есть, дальше, за налем и дальше. Там решение каждого. Идти или не идти. Один хуй вас отловят, один хуй вы придете и вас поймают. В любом случае. Как вы потом жить будете, это уже вопрос второй. Нужно выполнить задачу. Нужно. Никто ее с нас не снимет. Сейчас как раз пойдете, там выводят этих людей, которые, блядь, там жировали.
Wait a minute. Hold up. Did I hear that correctly? They're withdrawing the Indians from the front lines who were doing something. I don't think that's something that should even mention. To be entirely honest, that's like a part of this war. Like that's like an actual combat task. So yeah, that's interesting. So I'm just wondering, Matthew, like just saying this since they were saying that that's their actual what the Indians apparently like the Indian mercenaries I guess were doing out there in the front line. So does this mean that if they're withdrawing the Indians and they withdraw poorly, does that mean that the Indians have a weak cooldown? That's kind of wild, but I think these are the kind of questions we had to be asking at this point with what this guy said right here. I mean, you know, like, I don't know what's going on out there on the front lines.
Там жировали на стрелку. Вы их сами прекрасно не знаете. Кто туда подошел. Где они прячутся?
What, you're what?
То же самое вы знаете.
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I think I don't know what's going on out here anymore, but I don't think they're fighting a war. I think
you know how they moved back and forth. You know when they were messing around.
Matthew, I think we found it. I think we found the lost footage from Diddy's freak-offs. I think they're all getting like the briefing before they go in. He's like, you know, the Indians, they were out there effing. They were moving back and forth. It's like, what the hell? It's like,
all right.
It's like, all right.
Sure, it's not the first time this happened out there, but all right.
All right, and next thing you know, Matthew's gonna say, "Okay, Aaron, you got your bottles of baby oil. If you don't have it, let us know. Yeah, we're about to go in." Like,
где они прячутся, блядь? То же самое вы знаете. Мимо них проходили ни разу. Все, рота В, грузитесь в машину, Дагомат. Любая ваша на выбор.
Oh, any car of your choice. Take the Camaro if you want. Take the Ferrari.
С таким настроением, что у нас там, блядь, сейчас развалят писты или еще что-то. Нахуй тогда вообще было что-то делать.
That guy's crazy. Somebody's gonna be eliminated by birds or some other effing thing. Like, he's just crazy. He's fully drunk.
bro, this guy is going crocodile for sure, man. He's not, and dude, it's gonna get worse, man, when they get their hands on that like fine Korean heroin, man. It's gonna get even worse. Like, it's like the heroin and the meth, dude. It's gonna really screw them up at that point. But anyways, we did get to move on further down into the Pokrovsk region, where we did get to see the ongoing Russian ground assault. Let me get y'all in on the brave heroes of the Russian Federation and show y'all how the combat activities on the point of contact are being conducted. As we can see, the Russians are acting with brave heroism in the face of the enemy. It appears they're running the other way. Apparently, the reoccurring theme in the Bogman Cross area is sexual innuendos. Like the Indians were up there effing, they were moving back and forth, and then this guy is saying, "Give me the stick." I don't know what it is these days, but the Russians are really getting freaky out there. They might start calling the little freaky Russian army or something like that. But moving on from that clip, and that interesting video, we didn't get to see the Ukrainians also blew up a ATGM crew in the Shadow game. The Shadow was a money game. And so here's we have to mute, of course, for copyright reasons, but you see the little Russian ATGM crew sitting in the wide open for the whole world to see, trying to sit as still as possible, but it's quite obvious they're there. I mean, like, you'd have to be blind to not see them.
Is the mountain moving or is the tower?
I think, let me go back and look at that. It's the drone moving in its perspective, Matthew. It's such a thing as a depth of perspective. Like,
That's I've been running for a loop, man. I was like, either mountain moving. Oh, that guy. that guy though, right there.
That guy is not moving like anymore, at least. And we can now see the Russians up there on the ATGM. They seem to be a little concerned, but they're not running, which is a major problem for them. And it looks like they should have run, and now they regret it. Or they probably don't regret it, honestly.
This might be a timber mine.
Hell, man, this might be a Russian mine. It looks like the Ukrainians are mining Russians up here. This guy is running like he's in a straitjacket, and we see the Ukrainian drones getting ready, and boom, another one.
They're on like a Star Wars planet or something out here.
Man, they're on Andor. Or something like that. Oh, the Pandora.
They're on Gump.
Dude, I don't think that's a planet. I think that's like a fashion or something like that, being a golf, you know?
What's that planet called in
Hoth,
Star Wars?
Matthew. It's
Oh,
not
Hoth?
golf. Oh my god.
I don't watch Star Wars a whole lot. I've only seen it like once or twice on Paul.
Yeah. Dude, I can't believe you said the planet Goth. Man, they gotta add that in the Star Wars.
Oh.
Man, I'm telling you what, that was crazy. I don't know. You said Goth?
God.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said goth, and then you're like, no, it's goth. And I was like, yeah, that's what I said, right? But moving on from that, we did get to see the Ukrainians in the Kara Dog unit holding back the Russians.
Let's see, someone here has a name for Star Wars. Oh no.
Oh no, man. You've called down from the heavens, man. The Star Wars fans, they're about to be coming down like white rice on this, man. It's going to be canceled. Now, I do love the Goths in Star Wars. I really love their aesthetic. I'd have to say that their greatest leader was Goth Vader. He was probably the greatest leader of the Goths in the movie. And we do understand that the midichlorian count actually has a contribution to you being a stronger and more powerful Goth versus a weak Goth. And we can see here the Russians running around the ruins as they get blasted by the Ukrainians from the distance. And they're just getting blasted. And let's see. Some people are saying.
Someone said Disney owns Star Wars now. Be careful. I know. That's why I was trying to like protect our ass when I said Planet Goth. I was trying to like avoid the copyright claims. No, I'm just lying. I'm trying to cover my ass at this point. Also, Andrew Honeycutt said Planet Goth is hot topic at the mall.
But moving on from that and down into the area of, actually up into the area of Kyiv, we actually have the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky. Also, this topic right here, this is kind of a smaller one, so we're going to skip it because we talked about it in the short war summary today, so we're kind of cover it twice because it's not that big of a thing and there's been no actual follow-through on this yet. So moving on from that, it is time for us to get the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day 973 of the war. And so, without further ado, here is one of the small speeches of like the past month or two. So, without further ado, here you go. Speech.
Бажаю здоров'я українців України. Коротко про цей день провів нараду з прем'єр-міністром Денисом Шмигалем щодо невідкладних рішень, які потрібно. Також була нарада із секретарем РНБО Олександром Литвиненком про контроль за виконанням рішень та підготовка деяких військових питань на наступну ставку. Була добре головкова Сирського, фронт і Курська операція, найбільш уваги складним напрямком на Донеччині, а також потреби наших воїнів, наших бойових бригад в оперативності, постачанні і партнерстві. Оперативність завжди означає більший результат. Я хочу відзначити сьогодні наших воїнів 38-ма окрема бригада морської піхоти, це Покровський напрямок, та 79-та бригада ДШВ, це Курахівський напрямок. Дякую, хлопці. Є зараз важлива новина зі Сполучених Штатів Америки. Ухвалили рішення надати $20 мільярдів. Це кошти, які забезпечені замороженими російськими активами. Частина рішення G7 про $50 мільярдів для України, для нашого захисту, для нашої стійкості. Це те, що дійсно підтримує нас. І важливо реалізувати це вже в цьому році. Дякую Сполученим Штатам, дякую усій ОСН. Ще одне. Сьогодні була зустріч з представниками нашого українського громадянського суспільства. Багато було організацій, зовнішня політика, розвиток оборонної сфери, правозахист, захист свободи, зокрема, був Максим Буткевич, український політик та воїни, нам нещодавно вдалося звільнити з російського полону. Детально обговорили план перемоги та нашу потребу в об'єднанні у тому, щоб разом повертати справедливість для України, наближати мир і говорити з партнерами про все те, що може зробити Україну сильніше. Ми розраховуємо на єдність в промоції рішення партнерів по запрошенню України в НАТО, а також по розвитку нашої системи оборони. Треба більш активно закликати партнерів до рішучості в оборонній співпраці. І також маємо разом працювати над кроками, які дозволять Україні швидше відновитись після цієї війни. Дякую всім, хто допомагає. Слава всім, хто бореться заради України. Слава Україні!
And Rom
Herom Slava, or make Russia small again.
Make Russia really small, long-lasting small. Make sure that they don't have the chance to do stupid shit again.
or something like that. But beyond that, that is the end of the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day 973 of the war. And that is moving us on into the second segment of this stream, where we get to talk to each and every single one of us. And it's an incredibly fun segment because we get to talk about literally anything and everything that y'all want to. And so, Matthew, I understand that we have many, many of questions to answer tonight. So what do we got?
All right, so we do have a great many of questions to answer tonight, but we don't have any more polls to answer. We are fresh out, so we're moving straight into our Super Chat segment here. And our first one is going to go to none other than Wubba, who's a longtime channel legend and puts in a $20 donation. Thank you very much, Wubba, as well for your support. I said coffee and the burrito with fun.
Thank you so much for the coffee and the burrito. We love ourselves some burritos, and I gotta tell you. And I gotta thank you so much for the support once again. And helping this channel keep on running. If it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to have those delicious coffee and burritos that we have every day. We wouldn't be able to have those. You know, Matthew, I feel like we need to revisit that clip. I don't know why. I've seen some people asking for it a little bit, and I just want to hear about the birds being eaten on Tuesday. Like, I really do. Don't you?
I just would like to see it on my expensive Dell computers.
Let me see if I can go find the expensive Dell computers part on the spot. Man, hoping I can. Oh, wait a minute. I think I found it. Yeah, I found it. Okay. Alright. Yeah, I found it. Here it is, Matthew. Oh, yes. It's glorious. Here we go.
한결같이 사회주의 시기에는 지범
They are very grateful to their government for these handouts.
그때를 그리워하고 있습니다. 로마니아에서는 겨울 동안에
Yummy.
약 300개의 사람들이
Yummy.
추위와 공주, 그로 인한 성실gem으로 목숨을
They enjoy immensely.
마저리에서
time, in the major offices, factories and railway stations, people sit around under expensive adverts of Dell computers, drinking snow from plastic cups.
Plastic cups.
That's a luxury that they don't ever have out there. You know, it's only exclusive to the North Koreans, the plastic cup.
Turn the democratic people. Koreans drink coffee made of snow from the cups made of glass. Something like that. It's like
They drink all hot coffee in plastic cups with the plastic leaching right into the liver.
they got that PCB like straight fusion, man. Like it's like they're like PCB from their to make us more effective workers. Dude, I hope people keep on telling me. I can tell you, people keep on saying, just a few here and there, that this is not the real translation, and that there's another one out there, the real one, and I have not been able to find it yet. So we're still having work on this thing as the one. But if y'all ever do find it, please send it to us, because I actually want to know if this is the real one or not. Because up until now, we have nothing to actually combat this, and so this is the real one to us at the moment. But you know, let's see. Let's go to the very beginning where they talk about stuff like that. You know, considering what we know now about the problems with North Korea, let us watch this again. Today.
Dramatic music. This is how Americans live today, drinking coffee made from snow and living in tents and buying guns to kill each other, especially children.
Living in tents.
He said, and buying guns, especially to kill children. It's like, bro, it's like, dude, he's putting that roast down.
Some people complain about the guns.
I like how it's just like some people complain about the guns. It's like, some people don't like it at all. You know, it's like...
Like the guns, like it's creatures or something like that. Like, oh, some people complain about the dogs. You know, some people complain about the guns.
Some people complain about the guns and the way that they're killing children, but they don't really mind. And then it just moves on to like the next one.
John Person said, lean to the mic, especially children. Sounds a little sus to me.
Man, I like how like the emphasis was really put on that. Listen, man, it was like, and buying guns to kill people, especially children. It's like,
And living in tents and buying guns to kill each other, especially children.
Said it fast too, especially children.
Some people complain about the guns. Living on the streets of modern-day America. These trees are full of snow.
compared to North Korean trees, which are so glorious and grand, they never let the snow settle on them. They just shake it off all winter, you know?
You'll see that there are no birds. They've been eaten by the people who live in these tents and corridors. This man awaits heroin.
You know, I think I just figured out where they got this footage from. I think they pulled up like a documentary on homelessness in a state or something like that, and then they got all this footage and just started compiling it.
No. I'll actually tell you how they got it, because I remember the story behind this. They actually did send some people who were paid by the North Koreans to go, this was like right at the height of the recession back in 2008, 2009. They paid them, I think, to go to Chicago or something, and all of this was filmed somewhere in that area. And it was filming like the homeless shelters of people who didn't have jobs any longer and stuff like that because of the recession. And so it was like a perfect moment to do it. And this was also right when all of the food aid and stuff started getting shut off by the United States because of the nuclear weapon being successfully tested by North Korea. So they were that their anti-American thing, and that's why this whole propaganda thing was made, and also how they got the footage. If I remember the story correctly, I could be wrong.
Maybe so. Also, by the way, like everyone's saying that this guy's channel right here with his videos on is apparently him voicing it over, so I'm not sure if that's the case or not. Even if it is, or it sounds like the narration of this is hilarious. But I have a feeling it might be the guy's actual narration, because I'll be shocked if that was the actual translation.
So, let's see, this guy only posted 6 videos. I would go to the other ones, but they're all copyrighted songs. And so, I don't know if that is legit, because let me go pull this up again. And let's see here. He's going to find another one of these. different, but it was fun. Anyway, I'm trying to see if I can find this here. So I don't know. Maybe it's
Certain Jeff said it's gospel. Charles Monroe. I'm gonna trust you on that one.
I'm gonna trust him as and I look into my roof with a giant O. But anyways, I wish we could actually know. Wait, hold up. There's another one. Hold up here. Let's check this one out. So this is supposedly, I just want to put this out there, this is supposedly another propaganda video that's anti-American. So let's check it out. I don't know if it has an English translation, but let's just look at it.
That's what happened.
Man, this guy looks like he just did like a Tom and Jerry-esque thing to someone else, and they like their body crushed up like a little accordion, and he's just laughing. They're like, ah, it's silly hijinks or something like that. It's like, what the hell? Stephen Hawking?
This is a different channel, by the way. This is a whole different.
Stephen Hawking is doing the voiceover for this one. Today we have a special introduction for you about a terrible country. It's like, oh, great. This is wonderful. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, like, I don't know if all these translations are just being made up, but this sounds really similar to like the really overblown crap that's in the other one.
If you just take the theory of the universe and times pi, you get the answer.
Wait a minute, no. Excuse me, now that I'm done with this project, I'm going to use the money to go to get some fidgets. It's gonna be like, oh, it's like, no, Stephen Hawking, don't do it, don't do it. It's like... Isn't that Haiti? Like, I think that's Haiti, dude. Like, they took a video of Haiti. Yeah. Well, this isn't Haiti, but the other part, that looks a lot like, the capital of Haiti. But still.
Could be. Barbecue could be lurking.
Maybe.
I was listening to these.
Okay, this one is literally following the same thing as the other one did, just in a different, like format. So, I think, like, I'm just putting this out there because we don't have any contradictions. I understand Korean, but it seems as though that this may actually just be the way the propaganda is presented in North Korea. So, if that is the case, that is one of the craziest propaganda films I've ever seen, and we have to get the one last thing here. So one last thing from that clip that is the most famous thing out of it beyond the coffee made from snow. We have to get the birds. Like, we have to get the birds, which will be eaten on Tuesday. We have to listen to this.
Their houses blow down very easily.
Okay, here we go.
And walls from material from North Korea. Again, there are no birds in the trees apart from these, which will be eaten on Tuesday.
Man,
Nothing like scheduling your roadkill. I'm gonna have this on Tuesday.
man, I love those birds. Luckily, they'll be sitting in that same branch when I go to eat them on Tuesday. Like, the birds just show up and they're like, all right, time to eat, folks. Like, it's like, what the hell? Like, they're just, they can just fly, like, they're not, like, just stuck there. But still, I hope that gives everyone a good laugh about that clip, because I'm guessing at this point it is legit, unless if we get information to contradict that. But with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, and we are on to the next one. So what do we got, Matthew?
All right, and also we're having some significant lag out of the blue all of a sudden, so please bear with us on that. And our next one here is going to go to GunFox61, who puts in a $20 donation, and they Thank you very much, Gunfox, for always being a longtime channel legend and supporting the channel as well. He said, today in history, October 23rd, 1983, Beirut, Lebanon, Marine barrack attack that killed 241 U.S. service members, 58 French personnel, and 6 civilians. And take a question from the chat.
And I thank you so much for the support. And that is really why the United States got involved in Lebanon a little while ago, back in the 80s. That kind of created Hezbollah. Hezbollah was kind of being created at that time, actually, and that's why there was a good bit of U.S. military intervention in Lebanon because of that. That's something that is kind of a little skipped over, at least by some. In case y'all didn't know, we actually did know at a time some people who were from Lebanon, and I actually asked them about these stories, and they just made it sound like everyone was bombing Lebanon for like no reason, like no joke. They were just like, out of the blue, the Israelis just started bombing everything, and then America did, and I was like, well, yeah, but it's like there was like reasons, like, you know, like hundreds of Marines died in a bombing in Beirut. You know, that happened, and then they started bombing Hezbollah and also the Liberation Front, if you want to call it that, for that reason. And so did Israel, and you know, Israel was doing it because they had also been attacked as well. So it's like, you know, it's a little bit of a weird, like, I'll be honest with you, it's kind of weird listening to what they said, because what's even weirder about it is that they ended up becoming, one second, they ended up, the whole side thing crashed right there. I was trying to fix that while I was talking. But they ended up becoming refugees and moving to Canada, and then they moved to America. And they had to leave because the groups that America and Israel were bombing were also trying to kill them. And then they leave, and then they want to make it sound like they just don't know why Israel and America did what they did. It's like, because the people that were trying to kill you were also trying to kill us, and we were trying to deal with them. It's like, I don't know where the disconnect was there, to be entirely honest. It was a little weird. But beyond that, I hope that does address that the best I can, at least on that metric. But that is a very interesting day in history, and that's really where the United States got pretty heavily involved in what was happening in Lebanon, and kind of unfortunately created the situation we're dealing with today, to be entirely honest. And so with that, thank you so much once again for supporting Fox 61 and sharing that little day in history, because it is an interesting one. And thank you once again for helping this channel. Matthew, the Gunfox live.
So Gunfox did.
And so let us get to while we're drinking our coffee made of snow.
And this one goes to Defender Marcia LSA, who says North Korea has had plenty of missile tests, but have they ever successfully tested a nuke?
They have. There was actually a successful, let's see. Here they are. And they're all conducted up in the northern area of the country, so I'll go and try and find this area for you. Where is the nuclear shard? Ah, yes. I would assume it's around here somewhere. But I could be wrong. So, let me check. So, this is the map. Okay, well, thank you. The marker was there, and it's not. Can't we find image of this. So somewhere around here, because the little border line was right here. And what we're going to look for, we're going to look for charred landscape. These may have been underground tests, but there should be a decent physical remains of this, even so, because usually those create culverts. But I'm not seeing them yet. That's not one. Where are these, like... Okay, so let me zoom out a little bit more. So it's north of this highway, just north of that river. So let's flip it to this view, and maybe we can find it. So there's the highway. There is no small creek or a river here, but it's right about here. And not really seeing a lot of physical proof that there was a nuclear test. Like, it's completely reforested and everything. It happened a while ago, though. But yeah, I'm not seeing. But anyways, moving on from that though, and just moving back to this, there have been 6 nuclear tests that have been conducted by North Korea. One in 2006, one in 2009, one in 2013, twice in 2016, and one in 2017. And they haven't conducted any nuclear tests since that point. But it is showing us that they do have nuclear weapons. And according to the information that we have, apparently one of the maximum yields, and it looks like our information may be contradictory compared to what Matthew said earlier, the biggest yield nuclear weapons that they have tested, according to U.S. intelligence, is 140 kilotons, which is on the low-end estimate, and the 38 North, which is a website as well as NORSAR, which is the Norwegian seismic array, have estimated that the largest yield nuclear weapon
Moving
they've
to
tested
cover
is
your
actually 250 kilotons. So these are actually somewhat sizable. They're about the size of an average U.S. nuclear warhead that is currently in our arsenal at the moment. So going off of that, these are somewhat considerable, and it does once again add to the kind of the assessment and the belief that the North Koreans are nuclear armed. There's no question about it. It's not like guesswork that we're trying to do. We have actually confirmed, and we actually have proof that they have conducted nuclear tests, which show that they are nuclear capable. And this is another thing that's really big that people don't know. When someone produces a nuclear weapon, they always have to test it, because you have to see if the formula was right. Like, we didn't drop the atomic bombs on Japan without first testing our nuclear weaponry, or our atomic weaponry at the time, in the Manhattan Project during the Trinity test. We had to make sure that thing worked before we actually used it. And that's how everyone does it. That's how we knew North Korea had a nuke, because they actually tested their first one in 2006. From that point forward, we knew that they were nuclear capable of nuclear armed. That's also why, just to kind of extend this and pop this over to the Middle East, because if we ever get one, they will have to test it and make sure that their technology and their science is sound and it actually works in practice, and then we will know that they are a nuclear nation and that they are nuclear armed. And so I hope that does address that the best I can, and I thank you so much once again for support. And also, man, you know what's crazy is that they're testing nuclear weapons like not that far from populated areas, to be entirely honest with you, man. Like, someone living in Chongjin probably saw the mushroom cloud from that last nuclear test in 2017.
Yeah, and also they're probably doing it underground as well. So I'm sure they're shaking the whole like foundation of everybody's like houses or whatever they're living in out there. It's probably shaking the whole place.
You know what? I'm gonna check that because I wonder if they give us that information here. So, let's see, East Tunnel. So this one was in a tunnel. This one was in a tunnel. Let's see, this one was also in a tunnel. Let's see here. Estimated. They don't tell us whether this one was in a tunnel or not. This one was the first one that could be mounted onto a rocket in 2016, according to the North Koreans. Let's see here. Initially. So we don't know if that one was in a tunnel or not. This one was the largest one they ever did. It was around 70 to 280 kilotons in yield, according to the information out there. So that's a really big range. It could be a somewhat smaller one or a pretty significant one. And this one was tested. This one was also, well, we don't really know if it was tested underground or not. All of them create seismic activity, whether they're, subterranean tests or actual airburst tests or ground explosion tests. I would assume they're not.
It says underground right there on the thing. It says underground.
Wait.
On the chart right there, it says underground on every single one of them.
Well, color me stupid, Matthew, because I did not see that a single time I went down that whole list. But nevertheless, all of them.
Also, somebody said all the testing underground has made the mountain stable. Well, it could be the nukes, or it could be when Kim went hiking. It could be either one, or it could be a combination of both. He could have made the mountain unstable when he went hiking up and down the mountain, and then the nuke test just finished it off.
And you have to make sure that when you climb the mountain, you're behind Kim Jong-un, because if he starts falling down, there's going to be a massive earthquake, and everything in his wake will be crushed. Like, every single thing. Like, y'all thought the Titan submersible got splattered. Wait until you see Kim Jong-un's fat ass roll over someone. You will see absolute gore at that point. It'll be horrendous. But, man, I'm telling you something, man. You know we're on a hit list in North Korea at this point, man. Like, if they ever can, they're going to get us.
They're going to have you drink some snow, and it's not the type you want.
They're going to make me drink cyanide made of snow. Like, it's going to be like, no, I don't want to. But anyways, with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well, at least with the whole nuclear test side of things. And I thank you so much once again, GunFox61, for sponsoring that live chat and helping us to keep this thing running. And so with that, thank you once again, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and also real quick, I see a question here being asked a couple of different times from Anthony Manzano. To answer this question real quick, he said, what are your guys' thoughts on that apparently both the British and intelligence and the CIA were in Ukraine way before the war started? That is honestly pretty much standard. Obviously, we don't go around advertising, oh, look, our intelligence forces are in Ukraine, because that might give the Russians a little bit of propaganda to say, oh, we definitely need to invade now because the CIA is hanging out over there. But we were already there beforehand. That's pretty much an open secret at this point. I'm not sure about the British, but I do know that the American CIA, we were already there in some form or another. But Enforcer, would you like to weigh in?
We're also in Russia and China as well. So I like, it's like, that's like saying there's grass growing there. Like, yes, like the CIA is everywhere. That's the point. They're supposed to be gathering intelligence on everyone and everything at all times outside of the United States. So like, that's not really shocking to me, in my opinion, because, you know, that's what they do. I mean, they're everywhere. I mean, the CIA is in the UK. We're in literally every single Western aligned country. We're in every single non-Western aligned country. We're in every single hostile country. That's what the CIA does. Like that. Like if the Russians are wanting to say that, like, oh, the CIA was in Ukraine, it's like, well, we're in Russia too. It's just that we're not telling you who they are and where they are in Russia, but they're there. And so I always find that weird that they're like, oh my God, the CIA was in Ukraine, because, you know, like, they're literally everywhere. That's like literally, that's like saying, oh my God, a car is in Ukraine. It's like, what, you didn't expect that to be there? Like they're everywhere. Like, there's going to be cars everywhere. That's what they do.
Pretty much, if there's an embassy somewhere in a foreign country, you can pretty much bet your bottom dollar the CIA is hanging out in the embassy and probably around the same area, because wherever we have embassies, that's usually where they're based out of.
Yeah, and also another thing, like another big thing is that they're always going to be gathering information, like, you know, like whether people believe this or not, there was a lot of information put out back in the day due to a certain leak that happened because of a certain person who I believe actually is living in Russia now, or has ended up fleeing to some other country, that put out information that the United States had actually built in a kill switch into Japan's energy infrastructure, which was proven to be true and was a pretty dreadful scandal, if you want to call it that, at the time. But we're always doing that everywhere. That's what everyone's doing. Like, if y'all don't think that there are Chinese spies on American soil right now, you would be naive. There are Chinese and Russian spies that are here in America right now, and they're wandering around doing all kinds of intelligence gathering operations, not necessarily nefarious things like sabotage all the time. Some of them are, but most of them are information gathering. So that would be...
It can be as simple as this. Like, for example, like, let's say this, hypothetically speaking. This is a hypothetical, not that this has happened in real life, but hypothetically, China could send over a university student to go to a university over here in the United States and work on engineering. Like, that's their majors, like engineering. And then on their free time, on the weekend, they go out and they have a drone hobby, and they go and take pictures and videos of our shipyards in certain areas. This is hypothetical, by the way, not real life. But they could go do that and then send that back to the Chinese government. That's certainly the way that spies work, or usually that's the way they work. It's very mundane. It's not like they're running around, you know, doing dead drops and, like, you know, spy type stuff you see in movies. It can just be as simple as that, just taking pictures and videos of stuff and sending it back to the government. That's all they're looking for.
And I would have to say that is true. I mean, that is something that they could do, because everyone's always involved in intelligence gathering operations against each other. It's just what we do. Also, another thing, like, Soviet spies were so prevalent in the UK, they ended up making maps of the UK that were more accurate than British maps, if y'all don't know. Let me go pull up a Soviet map of the UK. We need to find it. Let's see, what was their name of their channel? Jay Foreman made a really good video on this. This is actually where I heard of it. But if y'all want to see a map that the Soviets made of the UK, actually, well, that one's of New York City, but you know what? This is a pretty good example in its own right to show how prevalent Soviet spies were in America. Because at the time when these maps were being made, they didn't have satellite imagery yet, and so it completely relied on spies on the ground making perfect maps, exactly one-to-one scale of what it would be like in these cities, in these locations. And so there were literally just spies whose entire job was cartography, and they would make maps like this. This is Lower Manhattan, like right near Long Island. This is Lower Manhattan, around that area. The World Trade Centers would have been somewhere around up here eventually, but they weren't there at the time. But this is a very interesting thing, because these also, to put this out there, because some people are gonna be like, obviously the Soviets would just copy the map. Like, they can't, because the thing is that cartographers naturally put in errors back in the day into these maps, so that way they pretty much watermark the maps as theirs. Like, no one would know about the error unless if you were the guy who made the map. So there would be a street that wouldn't exist or something like that. And the Soviets couldn't count on the maps that they were gathering to be reliable. They had to have perfect maps. They could not have watermarks or errors in them or anything like that. So they would send spies over and they would map the areas. And that's exactly what they would do. And these maps are, like, immaculate. Like, they're perfect. Like, here's another example. This is actually London, near to the area of Parliament. Like, well, actually, let me make sure I'm correct on that. This is the Thames River right here, however. And this would be the area near Parliament. Parliament's just a little bit out of the way further down. But you can see the St. James Park right here in front of Buckingham Palace. And you can see all the buildings perfectly modeled and mapped on this map to perfection. It's absolutely crazy that they would do something like this, but nevertheless, it shows the prevalence of Soviet spies in literally every single country around the world. And they were mapping, they were so prevalent, they were able to map these out with 1-to-1 accuracy and just start crapping these things out. I mean, they were crapping them out on every single scale. They were even like, this is a Polish map, but they would even make 1-to-1 scale maps of the entire UK and all of their road structures up to the day the map was made. So, like, new roads were even represented at the time the map was made. There was no expense spared with this sort of thing, and the efforts as well. So I hope that does share that the best I can, or at least show a good example of how prevalent spies are. Because to say that spies from a foreign country were in another country is not shocking at all. That's just normal. And so with that, I hope that does address that well, and I thank you so much once again for bringing up an interesting question. I hope that kind of clarifies that a little bit, and I thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here is going to go to Hokey Redneck, who puts in a $20 donation. And huge shout out to Hokey Redneck, who's a channel legend, for supporting us and our work as well, while I sit down my way through it. But thank you very much, Hokey, once again. And he said, do you guys watch police chases, especially your neighbor state of ASP cams? I do, Hokey. I watch those quite a bit, actually. And the Georgia State Police are the ultimate kings of escalating a police chase to the max every single time. Like, there's literally nothing they will not do to stop someone from running away. Like, if it means, like, pitting them in the middle of a busy intersection or, like, something like that, they're going to do it. If there's a family coming on in the opposite direction of traffic and they got to pit somebody, they're pitting them. It doesn't matter. It's really crazy. They drive those Dodge Chargers like they're Ferraris or something like that. But anyway, Enforcer, what say you?
I watch some of them. I usually watch, like, the body cam clips, though. Like, where someone, like, goes up into a house and they're like, hey, what's up, dude? He's like, I'm eating people. And then they're like, okay, well, we're going to arrest you now and we're going to go in the house. And then they have to, like, blur everything in the house so you don't even see anything. You just hear their reactions. But I usually watch clips like that. I usually don't watch high-speed chases, though. And to be entirely honest, this is going to be very on brand for many of you. I usually watch clips about history and technology. Like, so I'll watch, like, a really good channel out there. I don't feel bad for loving it because it's a great channel. They just do great documentary content. But Ocean Liner Designs is a great channel, and they do loads of stuff about ocean liners. And also they've kind of moved on into being kind of more broad, like about naval history or naval vessels, like, you know, other nations' navies, and they also do some merchant stuff, you know, like merchant marine or really just merchant ships as a whole, which is really interesting. Like, I really like channels like that. And then I also watch train channels, and I also watch channels that cover aircraft and aviation, especially like early jet aircraft, because that was just like the Wild West and like development and design like ideas at the time. Like, you didn't see every plane look fairly similar. Like, there were very unique different kinds, like the de Havilland Comet. Have you ever seen the de Havilland Comet, Matthew?
I have, actually. I've seen that one.
This one is just whack, man. Like, I think it was cool. Like, I think it was neat, but it was a little too weird, like, to be entirely honest.
I mean, it looks okay. It's not really my thing, to be honest, but it's alright.
You know what really is my thing, though? You know what really, like, where I'm like, oh, that's cool as hell. Like, you know, like, that would be the Boeing 707. Like, I just think it was, like, one of the coolest planes in the age.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. The engines were like little small, like, twigs or something like that. Those are very small engines.
Yeah, just tiny little nacelles, man. Like, it was a really cool plane. I just think these things were so neat. just so cool. And then, these, let's see, Donald Douglas came out with a DC-8.
And then D's. And then D's.
Yeah, they came out with these. But let me see here if I can show y'all. Hold up.
We're done for. Everyone get out.
Is a 707 H1C. I don't like that paint job. That's ugly. But let me see if they show like the comparable models. The DC-8. Yeah, there it is. DC-8 was also pretty cool. I just like this era. Like, I just thought it was a cool era of aircraft design and development. Like, I just think they're classics. Like, I just think they're neat. And like the first 737s were really cool too. Like the 737 MAX, it kind of like dived. Like it kind of took a dive in popularity, figuratively and literally. But the original Boeings were pretty cool. The old Boeing 737 were pretty cool. Like this one. Those were so cool looking to me because they were like these little stubby, wide-body aircraft with tiny-ass engines and little wings. And, you know, of course, over time they just started upscaling this thing into oblivion. But still, I thought the original ones were really cool.
Yeah, they are pretty cool. Which reminds me of like the baby bus, like the A319 a little bit, but even this one seems shorter than that.
Yeah, man, these things were super tiny. Or it just looks stubby because it's really wide. Like, these things were wide-bodied. Like, even for then, they were like, dang, man, like, how in the world do we make a like a local commuter plane, but we make it with the same width and body of a 707? They're like, oh, no, let's make a 737. And then they did this. And also, Caddy the Cat said, oh, you're an aviation aficionado. That's what you think until I get on a rant about trains, and then you'll go, oh, he's a foamer. And then, like, everyone just is always like, man, he's something. Like, I just obsess over everything. I can tell you all a lot about all different kinds of categories of things. Like, the reverse thrusters on these aircraft are incredibly cool, if I remember them correctly. And then there's also the Boeing 717, which, in my opinion, yeah, here we go. This is the one. Yeah, this is like the coolest one because the reverse thrusters on this thing are just so cool. I wonder if I can find y'all a picture of this working. You know what? I'm gonna have to go find it over here. Boeing 717 reverse thrusters. Here we go. Come on. Okay, so maybe I can find a picture of this. So what the reverse thrusters do on the 717 is so unique because it actually uses the engine cowling, and it just literally like flips the whole back of the engine outwards, and it creates pretty much a vector for all the thrust to go forward, so that way it starts slowing the plane down. It's such a cool way to do it because usually you just have these front slats on the engines, like you can see on, let's see, this 737 right here. You see these little slats, and they pop open, and they pretty much just redirect a lot of the thrust forwards from that area of the engine instead of actually using this giant cowling area at the back to start flinging the thrust forwards instead of sending it backwards. It's so cool to watch in operation. I just love them. I just think it's like so cool for that reason. But yeah, I think vehicles are cool in general. Like, I don't really like or dislike any of them. I just think they're neat. But still, with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, and thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it was not for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible. And of course, a big thanks to you once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here goes to Duncan VR, who's a channel legend and puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Duncan, for that support as well. And he has the animal noises for us tonight. So here we go. He says, ba-ba, moo, quack. Hamas Mickey said, where are we going to get the hot dogs? Boop, op. And they're eating the dogs. Woof, ruff. They're eating the pigs. Oink, oink. The birds. They're dropping snowballs on the Russians. Tweet, tweet. Animal noises. Ba, moo, meow.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're even eating the birds. They're eating the birds. They'll eat those on Tuesday. Really sad. Really terrible. We absolutely love the crows. We love the crows. We don't know why they're eating them.
But beyond that, I got to thank you so much for the support, Duncan VR, and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it was not for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to have the traditional animal noises. And how in the world can we have an Enforcer stream without the traditional animal noises? It wouldn't be an Enforcer stream without that. It wouldn't be an LSA stream without that. And I got to thank you so much once again, Duncan VR, for throwing that in and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it was not for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be here right now making this channel possible. And so a big thanks to you once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Kevin, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Kevin, for the $20 donation. I think, sadly, he accidentally duplicated it because it came in twice. So if it was an accidental donation, thank you very much for the 20, and we appreciate it. And Kevin says, a former signals intelligence guy here, and still keep up with the amateur stuff. And there are several channels that record North Korean satellite TV and put it on YouTube. And the stuff you saw is pretty common, and even if it is bizarre.
So Kevin is backing up that is a legit translation of the video. So if that is the case, that is actually crazy that they would be selling that kind of stuff to the North Koreans, but I don't even think they would be buying such outlandish stuff like that. But I still thank you for the support and backing this up on that, because apparently it is the real translation. I'm assuming. I'm taking your word for it. I'm trusting you, bro. I'm trusting you. But nevertheless, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that incredibly well, and thank you for sharing that with us and finally clearing up that story so that way we know what's real and what ain't. Because now we know that that's real trap shit. Walk with your boys. Damn, son, where'd you find this? But still, thank you once again. And with that, we're going to be moving on to the next one. But before we do, I actually saw someone say something about the try flying in a C-119. Oh, you mean the flying boxcar? The one and only? Like, these things were really cool. I liked them because they had that twin tail boom design like a P-38, but they had the carrying capacity of an actual cargo plane. I just think these things were unique for that reason. No one talks about them, though. Like, you don't hear about these much. And I just think they were so freaking cool. Let me see if I can show you all a better picture. Here's one at the Air Force Museum in Brussels, so that's kind of close, but still, with that, I hope that does address that well. I have seen that before. I think it's really cool. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one's going to go to Neiman Bauer, who puts in a 10. It says, good morning, USA, and drinking a coffee made out of snow and working hard for your stream. It's to be long live the Northern West. Free Israel and Ukraine.
Thank you for the support, Neiman Bauer, as you drink your coffee made of snow and you're working hard in different countries. And I will thank you for being you as well. So brilliant. So don't say the other. I mean, like they're so close to each other, but being like not close to each other geographically, they're just close to each other in pronunciation. But I still thank you so much for the support. And long live the LSA, long live the United States, and long live the Western world. And thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to None of Your Beeswax, which is a $10 donation. And thank you very much, None of Your Beeswax, for all the support. They said, should the U.S. enact a limited national emergency like Roosevelt did prior to World War II, so the American population prepare for the World War that seems to be coming like a freight train?
I think it would be prudent, or at least not really, starting to panic the public or something like that. Maybe just doing it quietly in the background, which is something that they also kind of did on a lot of levels leading up to World War II. Because it's quite clear we were obviously going to have to get involved in a World War or not. So I think that would be a pretty prudent decision, but maybe change it up a little bit so that way it's not that publicized. It's just kind of something done on a hush-hush level inside of the cabinet of the office of the president. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does resonate incredibly well. And we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Dark Warrior 137, who puts it on 10. It says, we live in a weird time. I never thought I'd be thinking of World War III like, dang, what's taking so long? And also, they need to buff the aggro of NATO in the next patch.
Dang, Dark Warrior, you're talking like this is a video game, but I do thank you for the support, Dark Warrior. And maybe they do need to buff the aggro of NATO in the next patch. I think maybe. What would harm with that, Dark Warrior? And I would say,